Well, hi there, and welcome to another episode of Scotty Paints, my return into painting after 40 years of absence. And today we're going to return to a painting I started the very first time I did a live stream. So let me show you what we started out with. You can see it on the easel behind me here. So let me bring up the inspiration for this painting that I started on last month. You can see on the left-hand side is a photograph of Southern Pacific Narrow Gauge number 18, taken this summer by a friend of mine, Kevin Schindler, who was out there to watch it operate. The locomotive was restored in Independence, California. It had been on display in Independence, California for many years. Southern Pacific number 18 ran on the narrow gauge line up through the Owens Valley from Keeler up to Laws, which is just outside of Bishop, California. A scant 73.4 miles. Long history associated with relating to going back to the Carson in Colorado. On the right-hand side, you can see the painting that I started, and I wasn't happy with the trees in the background. First of all, they're too bright. They don't get any distance. You can see on the photo on the left that the colors are more muted because they're back in the distance. The tree that is right next to the locomotive is bright, the same brightness as the locomotive. So I wasn't happy with those trees. They don't look like conifers up in the Rockies. They look more like Italian cypresses. So here's what I did. Some of you might not be happy with this, but so here I went back and I gessoed out the trees. I went ahead and already put in black gesso here for the locomotive because I want that as a background base for my locomotive when I start doing all the detailing and everything. So I left some of the colors that I put in the last episode. I've taken this canvas and I've covered it with my own mixture of what Bob Ross would refer to as magic white, liquid white. What I did is I'll bring up my palette cam here and I'll show you that I'm using the Golden Open, which acrylics, which are supposed to not dry as quickly. They're supposed to have like 2 weeks for them to completely dry and cure. In this glass jar here, I took some titanium white. I mixed it up with some Golden Open thinner about 5 minutes ago, and it's here on the canvas. Maybe I should go to the. So it's up here on the canvas in this white area, and it's tacky. I put my finger on it. I get just a thumbprint, a fingerprint of what's on there. So we are going to attempt to do some wet on wet technique with these acrylics with my own concoction of titanium white thinned down to create the white that you would blend in for the wet on wet technique. Now, my inspiration for the background is going to be something like this. Doesn't look like anything that's in the image. I know that. I'm using artistic license to put where you see the lake in the Bob Ross photo on the right. That's where the locomotive is going to be, and some nice rocky mountains and pine trees in the background. And I'm going to take it a little bit closer into fall instead of September when this photo was taken. So I'm using my artistic license to try to bring something a little more exciting to the photograph because I just did not like the trees that I had. That's just the way things go. So let's go ahead. We'll get started. I've got this camera, which I'll come to every once in a while when I talk to you. I've got my canvas prepped in the background. I got my palette cam set up. You just saw that. We probably won't be going to that anytime soon. Although I guess I should show you what I am using on the palette for colors. So let me see if I can do this without causing any issues. I've got titanium white, titanium white. I've got phthalo blue. I've got, he calls for midnight black. Carbon black was the closest thing I could have. That Golden had for my palette. I might have mentioned a couple videos ago that Golden didn't have phthalo blue. They do have phthalo blue. I just didn't see it on their color list. So I went and ordered and got some of that in. And then I have the alizarin crimson, which I'll be using. The other colors here, dark sienna, Van Dyke brown, sap green, cad yellow, yellow ochre. I've got those off to the side. I'll bring those in when it comes time to start doing some trees. So what we'll do now is I'll go to my over-the-shoulder cam and let's get started painting. So the first thing we're going to do, get my tubes out of the way, off the palette. And I have a brand new 2-inch brush that I've misplaced. Where did it go? Oh, yeah, it's in my water. Yeah, I didn't misplace it far. Now this is not a official Bob Ross 2-inch brush. It's it's an artist loft brush designed for acrylics. You know, Bob Ross does everything in oils. I'm trying to take the techniques his techniques and bring them into acrylic. So let me scoot around here and let's get started painting. So let's see how this works. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up some phthalo blue. And let's see how it blends up here. Okay. That's really coming in dark. It's not blending all that well with my mixture that I put underneath. So I'm going to bring some white into it. These golden open paints are really, really thick. This is my second time to use these. The very first episode was just straight acrylic show. I didn't have the golden opens when I started this project. Oh. Wow. It just doesn't blend as well as oils when trying to follow Bob Ross's wet on wet technique that he taught on his classes on TV, his PBS specials. Well, show. Not really specials, show. I thought they were special. Yeah. Now I'm putting a little bit of water into this rather than thinner. I want to see what happens. By the way, if you put water into golden opens, it will speed up the drying time. I don't know by how much. I haven't tried that. I wanted to. We're trying it now to see what happens. So I'm going to put down some of the thinner onto the palette. I want to introduce some of that in here. Get this to lighten up. That is a really, really dark sky. It's darker than I wanted. All right, I'm going to bring out my blending brush and we're going to do some blending. See if we can smooth this out, get some of these brush strokes out of here, get a smoother looking sky. So I'm blending and I'm blending. If you're a fan of the Big Bang series, then on TV, you'll recognize that as a line from one of the characters when they were out at the Vasquez Rocks doing a Star Trek photo shoot on the way to Comic-Con convention.
And we're blending, and we're blending, and we're done.
Yeah, okay, so I watched too much Big Bang series, but it was a cute show. I liked it. So you can see that I'm able to actually bring those colors down and blend them into where the straight white is. I'm not worried about going over on top of the locomotive. It's a very light blue that I have down here. One of the issues though, you know, I re-gessoed and you can't see it on your screen, but in this area where I had trees, I had some pretty thick paint that is leaving a texture. Now you can see I just was up here, it's still wet, still quite wet, and I was able to blend this down. So that's good. I like that. Not too worried about this area down here. There's going to be trees there. It's going to be filled back in with that other tree. So I'll be using green, so having blue down here is fine. Not doing a sunset photo. I do want to get some blue in behind the stack so that we have some color behind the stack, since I'm going back and putting a background in front of the foreground. Okay. All right. I think I got that pretty well blended with my dry brush. Boy, that's got some, I picked up a lot of paint. Took a lot of paint off of that. I'll put that into the water. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put some clouds in here. If I bring up the reference painting, you can see that we've got mountain peaks, we've got some clouds in the background, and that. So just for artistic sake, we're going to throw some clouds into this. Now what I wanted to try to use this new brush for is to put in, see how we can go with putting in some clouds. So I'm gonna, excuse me a moment while I rinse this out. I should have bought 2 of these. Artist Loft brushes are not cheap, and I know they're gonna last me for a real long time, but I figured that I would use my round brushes for blending. I really like how they blend the acrylics. They do a great job of that. So for acrylic painting, they're fine. All of the brushes I have are designed for acrylics. So, all right. So we're going to pull down some titanium white, and we'll start up here. Start putting in some fluffy clouds. The blue that I've just put on there is still very wet and tacky, so we should get some pretty good blending with these. I'm trying to get nice white fluffy tops, but it really wants to blend. All right. So let's pull out our blending brush. Now this brush is really wet, so I want to get it dry. I don't want to blend with a wet brush. I want to blend with a dry brush. Get that dry. And Bob Ross always said start at the bottom and fluff them up. That's what I'm going to do here. Just fluff them up. Trying to leave some bright white tops. Yeah. Not really blending the way I wanted. Everything just wants to blend right into that blue. And one thing, they don't behave like oil paints. See there, they just blend all the way in. I'm going to blend that out because I'm not happy with it. You know what? All right, it's fan brush time. All right. Okay. So I want to get a little more tone into those clouds. So I am going to go back to fan brush. And we're going to pull down some phthalo blue. I'm going to pull in some alizarin crimson. A little titanium white. I'm going to put some bottoms. Put a little bit of a dark bottom on the clouds here. Careful not to mess up my whites. And I want to use another my second dry blending brush. Just to soften this up. The other thing that this will do is that when I go to put in the peaks in the background, then we will have a complementary color that goes with the distance here in the clouds. As another acrylic artist says in his online tutorials, Ian Harris, who's in Australia, Ian Opolis is his YouTube channel. I've been watching some of his techniques because he works only in acrylics, and he talks about taking the bottom of the clouds and blending them out into the atmosphere, and that's some good advice. Now this blending technique I'm using with the round brushes is one that I learned from a young man out in Washington State. I may have mentioned his channel before, Color by Felix. This is the technique that he uses, and I like it. Of course, he uses straight acrylics, and you have to work pretty fast to get things blended. Here I've got a little more time. You can see I'm going back a few minutes later. I still got more time to blend with the golden open, so my underlayment of white didn't work too well, but that's all right. As I look at this right now, it almost looks like this could be the steam plume coming out of the locomotive. As dark as I've gotten that, but in the photograph, if I bring up the photograph, you can see that the steam plume is not coming out of the stack; it's behind the stack. That's the safety valve letting off steam. Being an oil-fired locomotive, they actually burn really pretty clean. So this would not be a dirty steam plume. This would just be a nice, happy cloud. All right. I don't know. What do you think? Do we need clouds over here? If I was doing this live, I could do a poll and say, hey, do we need clouds over here? And you guys could answer up and say, hey. But I'm not ready to go back live again. That was like an hour and 54 minutes of painting, and I prefer to not put up a right now. And as I'm learning, well, I can edit this down, and you can learn from my mistakes as I without having to suffer through 2 hours of painting. All right, toss that. Oh my goodness. Need to have handy wipes or wear gloves. I'm getting paint everywhere today. All right, so do we want to continue, put some more clouds up there in the corner just to even things out a bit? Add a little imperfect symmetry. what do we think? How are we looking so far? It's funny how I tend to paint on an angle because I'm reaching across my palette. Interesting. Maybe that'll be my trademark. All my paintings will have a little downward slant to them. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. We want to get in some distant mountains in the background. For that, I am going to pull out a flat, bright, and so here's the titanium white. This is the phthalo blue, linseed crimson that I pulled down here in order to make the purpley color. I'm going to pull down some more alizarin crimson. Makes it a little bit redder. I've got a little bit of the carbon black mixed in here. I'm going to pick up some titanium white. I want to get this really lightened up. Bring in some more white, because these are going to be in the distance. Let's bring in just a little more blue. Not much. It's a strong blue. Phthalo blue is a really strong blue. All right. Do we have Purple Mountains Majesties for the background? I think we do. All right. Let's go back. I'll go back to the over the shoulder shot here. And now, let me bring up the reference image. You can see he's got really sharp peaks. Bob Ross does on his mountains. I'm not going to go that drastic. He does this to show palette knife technique for these types of peaks. He got a lot of his inspiration from Alaska. He was always painting the sharp peaks. Not all the peaks in the Rockies are this sharp. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go for something that is not as sharp. These are off in the distance, so they're just going to be a light purple haze. Not going to worry about coming down too far because we will have some vegetation here in the background. Yeah, we'll go that far. Don't need to worry about going too far over here. There'll be a tree over here eventually. Probably be a big pine tree of some sort over on this side too, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. I'm going to put some mountain texture in here using titanium white. I'm not going to do palette knife on this. I need to practice more on palette knife, but I think I like the texture I'm getting doing this way. I'm mixing up some darker. Let me show you what I'm doing down here. So what I'm doing is I'm mixing up a darker shade here that I'm going to go down. I'm decided I'm going to go in and here we go. Put in a darker shade here in the, which will give the illusion of some other rolling hills in front of the main peaks. As I looked at this, it's like, I think I want to fill in more behind the locomotive here. So this was the danger I ran into making this decision to go out and redo the background, is that it's easier to put something that's in the foreground in front of a background if you do it after you've done your background. But those trees were just driving me up the wall. Of course, you know, I come home every day and I stare at a painting that's in the room, somewhat in progress. It's like, yeah, it can only take so much. I gotta go fix it. You know, and people tell me, you just need to learn when to walk away from it. Well, yeah, that's true. In some cases, that's true. This particular case, no, that wasn't true. At least not for me. So, here I am, trying to go back in time and fix some mistakes. Well, what I thought was a mistake. I just wasn't happy with it. All right. So what do you think? Does that give a illusion of distance? The clouds bring in a little more contrast and a little more dynamic to the painting. Yeah. We'll see. All right. So I guess it's time to introduce some more colors. It's dry off this blending brush. Probably won't be needing it anytime soon. So the next thing is I've got this area here, got this area over here, which are going to be which will be trees. So we'll bring up the reference. So you can see we have some the foreground there. Now when Bob Ross painted this, you can see that he left a lot of really bright area behind where these trees are. In order to create the distance of give depth, make it more, he made it more misty. I didn't do that. I'm going to go in for letting the mountains that I painted be the contrast for this. So it's time to go in and build up some tree colors. So I have phthalo green, which I'm going to put down here. I have some cad yellow, which I'll put right there. And some yellow ochre. Don't need a lot. And it's time to put in some trees. Now, there's a couple of different ways of doing this. I can do the full stab thing like this to make little tiny trees with the fan brush, or I could put in branches, some trunks, and then go back in and put in the branches. I think we're going to put these far into the distance, so let's do this. So I'm going to take my phthalo green. All right, so at this point I think I'm going to I'm going to bring in the yellow ochre, the yellow and I need to get some tall grasses in here. Time to regain some of the locomotive back. Nice sooty stack back. Let's go to our reference photo. So you can see on the locomotive, there's a lot of white highlights on the left-hand side and dark on the right. It's a straight stack. So we need to get some of that in here. I need to get it back. I actually had it there. Okay, time to go to smaller detail brush. See, I have the photo here printed out that I'm using as a guide. I think this is the one I used last time. Okay, so back to the reference photo. Okay, so we've got the steam gnomes behind the stack, which are also a nice gray with highlights. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm actually, when I start going in for these details, I actually hold my breath. Anybody else paint like that? Like, why do I do that? So there is on either side of the locomotive you have these openings. There's two doors so that the engineer or the fireman can walk out onto the walkway. The running boards that are above it, and in the photo you really don't see it nor anything behind it. But I think the artistic license in me is going to come in place, and we're going to leave an opening there. So, should we start working on the smoke box here in front? Get some gray in around the door so we can start painting in the hatch dog's hinge on the front of the smoke box, and then we're gonna save the front of the smoke box where it says 18 to the very, very last of this painting. That's when you see 18 on the painting, you know I'm done. How about if we use that as our mark of completion? All right. So in order to get this grade up, I'm going to use some titanium white, and I'm using some phthalo blue with black. Want just a little bit of the blue in there, because this is, this is metal, and you do get a blue tinge with the metal. All right, so let's go back to our reference image, and you can see we've got some highlights that we need to put over on the top, up with around the 10 to 11 position. So bringing in some more titanium white. to take me to finish this locomotive. We might not get all that far today just because of all the little details that go into painting a locomotive if you're going to do it right. Well, not right, but if you're going to do it where you want to have the details. I want to have the details. I want to try to make this a really, really nice, distinctive painting. Even though it's my first at railroad art, this is one of my favorite locomotives. You can see right up here. Here's number 9. I was out at a steam up at a friend's house yesterday on Saturday, and it's Sunday afternoon. Of course, this is Sunday afternoon painting, and I ran my number 8. I have this model of 2 models of this locomotive in live steam. Number 8 and number 9. Number 9 is on the shelf. Number 9, I put all of the extra little details on it, and so I don't run it as often because I don't want all the details to get broken off. It's sort of a shelf model, but eventually it will go back and probably become the primary locomotive that I run for my interest in Southern Pacific narrow gauge, because as I get closer to retirement, I'm going to have to downsize. That's just going to have to happen. So I'll be reducing my locomotive collection because there are other locomotives I want to maintain that are in the vein of Southern California desert area. Oh, all right. I think the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get the color of the rolling stock that's being pulled behind this blocked in. Let me see if we can clean some things up. So, to do that, I need to mix up some orange, which pretty much have already ready to go. The question is which brush do I want to use? My little chisel, number 10 chisel brush. So I've got this bright red and yellow here left over from when I was working on the headlight. Let's bring that in. I think I'm going to want some more cadmium yellow mixed in with this. Just a dab will do ya. Those are really bright. All right. Go back to the reference photo. See where we got our yellow. Here we go. Don't worry, I've got a reference photo right here. Right down here. In fact, if I go to this shot here, can you see it? Yep. All right, there it is. That's what I've been referring to. Got it right here. So, all right. So we've got down. That's about 2 hours and 35 minutes worth of painting. I think I'm going to take a break for today. Since I use the golden open colors here on the canvas, they're still quite wet. They're going to be wet for a while. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to put the hairdryer on them, and we'll close this session off for right now. So come back. I'll be working on this. I don't know if I'll get to it later on this week. I might get to it tomorrow a little bit. I've got tomorrow off, so I might do some more work on it tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going to end this for today. Take a break, get some lunch. Is it lunchtime yet? It's probably past lunchtime. Yeah, it's lunchtime. Take a lunch break, and we'll see you. We'll see you in another episode. So hope you enjoy how this is coming along so far. There's a lot more work to do. We've got to put tracks in. We've got to put in some more vegetation. We got to put in the front of the smoke box and more. We've got the details of the hatch dogs and things like that. We've got to put some steam coming out of the safety valve that's popping off in the image. So this is where we'll stop for today. So anyway, thanks for joining me, and we'll catch you next time.